So guys and gals, I'm trying something a little differently here. In place of the replacement faces, I'm going to instead just make replacement mouths and the eyeballs move from side to side and up and down. It's a pretty simple strategy and I feel it will cut down so much work and you'll use less of your materials. So I begin by making the brass tube armature because Mrs. Busybody is going to be a main character. I'll link the armature tutorial below along with the materials that I used here. So I'm filing the brass tube to make the edges smooth and then I'm gluing the wire into the brass tube. I place Scotch tape around the wire to create a bond for the clay. I use a 632 T-nuts for the feet. That's what's going to anchor the puppet to the floor or the base. Then I just added some clay to the armature parts and smoothed that out. Here's a mock-up of what I want Miss Busybody to look like. I use the aluminum for the head. That just creates buildup so you don't have that bulk clay. And I'm putting a piece of the brass tubing into the head. I'm using the Sculpey original clay. It's the oven baked kind and it's in the color white. So now we get to the modeling part. I'm going to build up that clay piece by piece until I get the look that I'm going for. I use a combination of smoothing tools. I'm also using olive oil to smooth the clay with, and when it gets too sticky, I use cornstarch to take away that tackiness. I also use the ball tools. That's what I was using to create the eye space, the eye socket. Once the clay was molded the way I wanted it, I baked the head and I baked all of the replacement parts for the body. I then used my Dremel tool with one of my grinders to drill the eye area, and I'm linking the eye tutorial below as well. So what I'm doing, I'm adding a piece of clay on that hardened area, making sure it doesn't touch the eyeball so that once it is baked, the eye will be able to move from side to side and up and down. Then you bake again. So what I'm doing, I'm drilling a hole into the face where the mouth is, and I'm using a very tiny magnet in the mouth area. So we're going to have one magnet per head. Then all I did was rolled the clay into like thin strips, like a snake. Just cut little strips and I molded a little mouth. Just simple mouth around the puppet. You can create as many of these mouths as you want. And then I'm going to attach a little piece of metal to the back of the mouth, and that's what's going to allow it to attach to the mouth area. Next, I shaped just a simple ear and I attached that to the puppet's head, and then I'm going to bake that once more. Make sure that you take out the magnet before you bake. I don't know what type of damage it would do, but I was afraid to bake the magnet in with the head, so I just took out the magnet every time I bake. I do a simple mold of the feet and bake. I use the Dremel to carve out the shoe shape that I want. The poly clay helps the clay to bond to the already baked clay. And then I bake it once more. And then use that O-tip bonding potted to make the harder part of the body. Use Scotch tape to cover the brass tubes. The Armature tutorial below goes more in depth with how to make this body, and this is how it all fits together. I'll link the hand tutorial below on how to make these hands. I'm using some doll accessory hair in gray. I had these butterflies and I'm going to use them for her hat. I'll use some beads, and I thought this brown felt would look great. Soft pastels. I'm going to be using it from now on to shade the puppet. I'm using this dark gray. I'm going to color her scalp a bit. Dampen the brush. When I applied the hair, I decided to keep the curl intact and just glue little sections of it onto the scalp in the pattern that I wanted. I wanted Miss Busybody to have a 50s style. And now let's shade her. Again, we're using the pastels. I use a combination of the light flesh, dark flesh, and cinnamon to create her skin color. Again, make sure that the brush is damp. I use the color Rose Carmine for her upper lids. I used some Sculpey glaze for her eyeballs. It was just a piece of paper prior to that. I also used some acrylic brown paint to fix her hat where the glue was showing. I just used a piece of lace. I just cut a tiny little strip of the edging and I used that for her eyelashes, and I glued it on with the Gorilla Glue. I used a burnt umber pastel for the eyebrows, and I used a cold gray pastel for the eyelashes. White beads for her pearl earrings. Paint the shoe the color you want. Glue all the pieces in the armature except the arms. I shaded the body the same color as the face. You just have to do the parts that will show. I just chose to do it all. I wanted the arms to be flexible. I used the sports pre-wrap just to give it some type of stability so it doesn't fall out easily. I'm using sponge to bulk up the body because I wanted it to have more of a older person's shape, and I didn't want the clay to weigh down the puppets. I used a piece of wire in the skirt itself at the hem to give the skirt some kind of form that would hold. You probably don't have to do all this underwear stuff, but I don't know, it just doesn't feel right for them to go without underpants. I'm in love with this Liquitex, a matte varnish. The finished look that it gives, it's just like the clay itself. There's no change, but it protects and seals the pastels. And of course, which older woman will be out without her purse? Just had to add that. And we're done. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more videos. I love y'all. Bye.